Yu-Gi-Oh! GX came with an amazing anime, but also with an amazing manga. Even though I still can't understand why they gave Jesse a damn insect deck.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.
Also, it's quite unusual that the anime came out a year before the manga, setting the stage for Chazz. The thing is, Chazz is popular with many people, but somehow in the anime he's a character who never really got to shine. Sure, he went through significant character development in season 1, but that's about it. It's rare to see a character get such a strong arc, only to be completely sidelined later. In the manga, he's written much better. At least, that's what everyone thinks. But in reality, Chazz's development in the anime was pretty impressive across all seasons. Whether it's better or worse than the manga, of course, is in the eye of the beholder. And if you want a detailed video about the Chazz in the manga, let me know in the comments. But no, Chazz it up! What defines a duelist is probably their deck. The more theme decks a character gets, the more confusing it becomes, depending on how often you see them duel. In the classic series, you instantly know which cards come to mind when you hear Yugi's name. Kuribo, Dark Magician and Slifer. When you think of Kaiba, you think of the Blue Eyes and Obelisk. Strangely, when you think of Joey, the Red Eyes comes to mind, even though he dueled with it less and won more with the Time Wizard. And of course Jinzo, because that card is just strong. And Pegasus' main card is of course Salomon. In GX, it's similar. Jaden had the elemental heroes and later Nears, Cyrus started with Roids, later with Cyber Dragons, Alexis with Cyber Blader, and Zane had Cyber Dragons. The only one who should stand out was Bastion, who wanted to use a different deck depending on his opponent. However, this didn't work out well in his 5 duels, where he used his Water Dragon deck 3 times and his Magnet Warriors deck twice. Unlike Bastion, Chazz struggled more to find his style in the anime. In 18 notable duels, he used 7 different theme decks, sometimes combining up to 3 of them. He had Chitonian, XYZs, Ojama, Armed Dragons, White Knight and a Darkness Power deck. Of course, he had the strongest connection with the Ojamas, using them in about half of his duels. Unfortunately though, he lacked a cohesive structure or a deck to build everything around. Maybe that's why Chazz never really got to shine in the bigger duels in the anime. After 18 duels, he won 7 and lost 11. In comparison, Cyrus had 6 wins and 6 losses. He even managed to win against Jaden once and almost won a second time. Only Bastion had a worse record than Chazz with a 1-to-4 ratio, though he deliberately lost once, so it's technically 2-to-3. And his 2 wins were, of course, against Chazz. Therefore, it's completely understandable why most people point out that manga Chazz is better. He has a badass dragon deck with Light and Darkness Dragon as his main card. He is the second protagonist, and because he plays with one deck, he could achieve more. In the manga, he also won 7 times, but only lost twice, and those losses were against Jaden and Zane, which is no shame at all. Chazz is often compared to Kaiba in the anime, which I don't understand. While Kaiba came from a poor background and had to fight against his stepfather to succeed, Chazz was swimming in money thanks to his family and 2 brothers, allowing him to have the best cards and a big ego. He did have some pressure though. His brothers were at the top of the political and economic power structure, so he was supposed to complete the trio by dominating the dueling world. This would have made them even more powerful than Kaiba, who only controlled the economy and the dueling world. Chazz also dreamed of becoming the king of games, but in his duel against Jaden, he quickly realized that having a big mouth wasn't enough. Even though he had been given cards by Crawler from a military supervised delivery, he lost the duel miserably and became the laughingstock of Obelisk Blue. How could someone lose to a Slifer noob, especially someone with such strong family connections? As punishment, he was moved to sit somewhere else and had to duel Bastion next with his rank on the line. If he loses, he would be demoted to Ra Yellow. And just because of the immense bag from his influential brothers, the pressure becomes heavier, leading to desperate measures, like throwing Bastion's deck into the ocean. It was a desperate act from an egoistical, desperate boy. Instead of working on himself and improving, he tried to beat his opponent by destroying his deck. But he didn't realize that Bastion had more decks than Danzo had Sharingans. And since he had mentioned before the duel that he would use fire cards, Bastion naturally used a deck with a water dragon. And although Chazz had thrown Bastion's deck into the ocean, he denies it, since there was no evidence that he had thrown his cards. Except that Bastion had proof it was his deck. He had written a formula on one of his cards. Not only did Chazz lose to Bastion, but he lost to Bastion using an incomplete test deck that was originally meant for Jaden. So Chazz couldn't have received a bigger humiliation. Here's a spoiled kid who, up to this point, didn't have to take any responsibility because he thought that being a Princeton meant everything would fall into place for him. Then, when he finally had to take responsibility for his failures, he chose to harm others instead of owning up to his mistakes and correcting them. He wouldn't even admit it when caught behaving like a child. And you know what? That is the story of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Every character in this series comes with their own problems, mostly childish ones because they are still quite immature, although some have an impressive biceps. And we follow each of them as they grow up. For me, that was always the magic of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Like with the Magic Cylinder, the anime throws a life-changing philosophy at you under the guise of card games if you're willing to receive it. The same goes for Chazz. He felt he could never face his brothers again if he became a rare yellow. At least that's what he thought. They would probably just feed him even more powerful cards and donate some money to Duel Academy to keep him in Obelisk Blue. But because he didn't want to face them and had never learned to deal with consequences like becoming a rare yellow, he chose to flee the Duel Academy altogether. During his journey, he couldn't stop thinking about Jaden, feeling like his life was ruined because of him. And yes, he almost lost his life after a shipwreck if not for a Tangela saving him. His deck couldn't be saved, but Chazz didn't care much. Those cards had no value to him. He could just buy new ones. He didn't see the yellow Ojama card as anything but useless, even though the yellow Ojama saved his life by leading the director to Chazz. The Ojama was his lifesaver, even though Chazz hadn't realized it yet. He just saw it as a card with 0 attack points. When he reached North Academy, he could only get in with 40 cards. Since Chazz only had the yellow Ojama, that wasn't going to work. However, someone there had gathered 39 cards, but didn't have the strength to find the last one. That would be a great opportunity for Chazz to do something good by giving him the Ojama, which he didn't even value. Instead, he offered a different card. His credit card, hoping to buy the 39 cards. Again, he tried to take the easy way out, relying on his family's money to solve his problems. But the other person refused to sell, forcing Chazz to finally learn to take matters into his own hands. Chazz sets off on his own, for the first time in his life, venturing into the harshest corners of Antarctica to collect cards until he is 40. Upon returning, Chazz understands what it means to achieve something through his own efforts, but he also realizes that he didn't get the 40th card by himself, but by Tangela. So Chazz decides to give one card to the other guy to help him get in first. He initially wanted to give him the yellow Ojama because he thought it was pretty awful, but he couldn't get it out of his hand, so he gave him a different card. Chazz put his ego aside and let the other guy, whom he had just tried to buy the 39 cards from, go ahead. He realized the importance of appreciating cards. This is the same Chazz who had thrown Bastion's entire deck into the ocean just a few days ago. But what you do to others will happen to you. He lost his deck in the ocean as well and had to search for new cards, which taught him the true value of cards. Now with 39 cards, he goes to the campfire to rest a bit and finds the last card there, which the other guy had apparently been sitting on the whole time. Just like him and Chazz, we all sit on a ground full of opportunities at this very moment. We just need to keep our eyes open for them. And this situation too mirrors what he did to Bastion, but in reverse. He reaped what he sowed. Similarly, when he gave the guy with glasses a card, he received one in return. And not just any card, but the card he used to win his final duel against the boss of North Academy. If Chazz hadn't developed and just walked in or bought the 39 cards from the guy, he probably wouldn't have defeated North Academy's number 1. By giving the card with pure heart, expecting nothing in return, he was rewarded with a card that helped him become the new number 1 and get another chance to duel Jaden in this cool duel. At North Academy, he shows what he's really made of. He defeats every student there, even taking on 4 at once, using randomly gathered cards that he plays with some awesome combos. The fact that he single-handedly defeated the entire North Academy in one day with random cards doesn't resonate with most people like his loss to Bastion. I can understand that, since people are familiar with Bastion and not with those guys. For the duel against Duel Academy, Chazz receives decent cards again, giving him a real chance to win. But once more, his brothers interfere, placing such a heavy burden on his shoulders that he nearly collapses from the pressure in the bathroom. After all, the duel between Jaden and Chazz will be broadcasted live on TV. All of Japan will be watching. His brothers give him a briefcase full of rare cards to build the ultimate deck, as they won't accept another defeat. Chazz remembers what happened when he lost to Jaden the first time. He was excluded and laughed at by everyone. So if he loses again, all of Japan would laugh at him. And not just him, but his whole family who organized the broadcast. He has to win. Today, tomorrow, the day after, every day, forever. That is the pressure on his shoulders from the Princeton name, which Jaden overhears and uses to completely dismantle him, defeating Chazz once more. Here too, Chazz shows how much he has changed. The old Chazz would have taken his brother's cards immediately. The new Chazz chose to use the deck from North Academy. He had a choice between cards that were given to him without any effort, but might be better, and cards he worked hard for, though they might be worse. But he chose the cards that represented him. Even though his brothers tried to make it their duel by putting this weight on his shoulders, is this deck the first thing in his life he really worked hard for? It fills him with pride because he earned it himself. Sure, he wants to beat Jaden, but not at all cost. He wouldn't throw Jaden's card into the ocean like he did with Bastion's, nor would he use cards handed to him like the ones Crawler gave him to beat Jaden. And all this despite facing more pressure than in the previous duels. He plays the game with his own strength. He trusts himself to win with his own power, just like at North Academy. So Chazz has already gone through a huge transformation here. In the duel itself, Jaden shows him that dueling is about more than just winning and losing. It's also about having fun, and that the world doesn't end if you lose. So he sees that even though he lost, people still cheer for him because he played fairly and gave his best. Afterward, he could have gone back to being the king of North Academy. Instead, he stays at Duel Academy because he realizes there are duelists who are better than him and sees the potential to grow. Especially now, since he's back as Slifer Red. The old Chazz left the school because he was being demoted from Obelisk Blue to Ra Yellow. Now, as the number 1, so the Zane of North Academy, the king, he becomes a Slifer Red. However, the current Chazz doesn't run away, even if he is placed in Slifer Red. After all, these titles mean nothing. Oh wow, I'm in Obelisk Blue! I'm better than all of you! Sure. But the fact that a Slifer Red represents the school says it all. Anyone can wear a blue jacket, but we all look up to the same sky. The team that protects the keys from the Shadow Riders consists not just of Obelisk Blues, nor even just teachers, but includes 2 teachers, 2 Obelisk Blues, 1 Ra Yellow and 2 Slifer Reds. Which completely destroys the winning or losing lesson from Jaden. Because now, losing a duel means risking one's life. Even though Jaden takes this much harder than Chazz does. Kyberman arrives and manages to calm Jaden and the others down. And as if Kyberman wasn't Kyber himself, suddenly Chazz's brothers show up at the door, having negotiated with Kyber that if they win against a student, they can take over Duel Academy for free. Until now, Chazz had accepted weak cards but deemed them useless, making it his next step in character development to show that attack points aren't everything. So he must duel his eldest brother, who has built a deck with the cards they initially offered Chazz for his duel against Jaden. However, Chazz can't use any monsters with more than 500 attack points in his deck. To build such a deck, he goes into a well full of discarded cards, where the yellow Ojama finally finds his two brothers. Chazz builds a deck, but not just with cards that have less than 500 attack points. To show his brother that he is a skilled duelist and that they underestimate their useless brother, he constructs a deck from monsters that all have 0 attack points. And nothing represents Chazz better than the Ojamas. All 3 are considered useless, just like Chazz in his brother's eyes. But together, these useless monsters destroyed powerful cards and led Chazz to victory. Party hard for Chazz, and even his brothers finally see how much he has grown. He is no longer the person who relied on his family's money and never achieved anything through his own efforts. He has become greater than they ever imagined. A victory Kaiba had expected. Fun fact! Have you ever wondered why Chazz's brothers' monsters shimmered in their duel? This was never explained in the dub. After all, he was playing with normal cards. But in the sub, you can see that the cards were actually holo cards, which seems to transfer to the monsters. Chazz has grown so much that he is the only one to notice Inspector Megure's suspicious bionic eye, using his duel spirits to reveal the key thieves. Not only does he become the Detective Conan of Duel Academy, but he also has the honor of defeating one of the Shadow Riders. And not just that, but Chazz sees these cards as good duel spirits who were just following orders. He doesn't see them as hateful or evil, but as cards that were exploited to do wrong. That's why he takes them in, even though his room is already too small. The old Chazz would have spit on that card if it had been lying on the floor. At this point, everyone agrees that Chazz has undergone significant character development, and it seems like things goes downhill from here. But you know what? Setbacks are also part of character development. What's important is to learn from them. Chazz first falls into the love trap, similar to what happened with Sakura's potential, and falls head over heels for Alexis. Honestly, who can blame him? When the fun was over for Chazz and Alexis after a duel against Amnail, Chazz feels a connection with Alexis and wants to be with her so badly that he would even give up dueling for her. But there's a huge obstacle in his way. Zane Tuesdale. This transforms him from Chazz Thunder to Chazz the Pitiful Simp. With his deck back together, Atticus gives it one final touch to help Chazz express his love for Alexis in a duel. To do this, he steals all 7 keys and challenges her. His heart is broken in the process, but he inadvertently releases the 3 sacred beasts, the cousins of the 3 Egyptian gods. While it wasn't directly Chazz's fault, this duel provided the last bit of energy needed to activate the keys. It also would have happened even if Chazz hadn't stolen the keys. In his first duel of the second year, Chazz gets a chance to return to Obelisk Blue if he defeats someone from Obelisk Blue, who's just like Chazz at the beginning and idolized and even copied him to be like he once was. This duel demonstrates that Chazz can handle both weak and strong cards, utilizing the full potential of each card and overshadowing his old self. Despite winning, he doesn't return to Obelisk Blue because during the duel he talked about how strong these Lifer Reds are and how much he learned from them, which they actually loved, leading Crawler to keep him there. His next stop though is the Society of Light after he loses his duel against Sartorius. Chazz is convinced that with Sartorius by his side, he can change his fate and finally defeat Jaden. Completely absorbed by this idea, he starts converting everyone else at Duel Academy to the cult, using the same method he tried to show his love to Alexis, by defeating all the no-name Obelisk Blues in duels. That's quite an impressive feat. While he couldn't convince Alexis of his love, he did manage to duel her into joining the cult. All this was for a power that would finally give him the courage to duel Jaden again. A power to finally beat him. But instead of actually dueling Jaden with his amazing new power and fate on his side, he still doesn't have the courage and sends one duelist after another to face Jaden, who defeats them all. He doesn't even realize that he's become nothing more than a pawn, and even when those who successfully complete their tasks are turned into cards, he fails to see that something is wrong. he continues to convert the best known names Raiellos on his own, except for Bastion. He converts Bastion in a duel, though that was more luck than anything else, as Bastion, not wanting to be an outsider, decided to go along with the crowd. That's why he deliberately loses to Chazz. Manipulated, Chazz loses all his character development, once again relying only on strong cards and even throwing away his Ojamas. In the tournament, he wipes out opponents one by one in the name of the cult to win the most medals and finally take his revenge against Jaden. Chazz begins to doubt the whole situation as he becomes a walking Alzheimer, unable to remember things that happened just a few days ago. However, his old jacket and the Ojamas finally bring him back to his senses when he loses to Jaden again. The Ojamas, who once helped him out of a similar phase, help him regain his awareness. At first, he's not entirely sure what's going on, but once he comes to his senses, he realizes his mistakes and is man enough to make it right. During the duel, he takes back his Ojamas and gives Jaden the strongest cards he received from Sartorius, just so he can destroy it with his Ojamas, breaking his ties with the Society of Light once and for all. He deliberately loses this duel because he understands his mistakes. Could he have won? Maybe. But he doesn't want to win without his friends by his side. Everyone in the Society of Light again during the tournament to bring them back to their senses and out of the cult. Although he couldn't rescue Alexis or Bastion by himself, those tasks were left as always to Jaden. At least rescuing Alexis should have been Chazz's task. It seems like Chazz was pushed into the background and reduced to a comic relief. But remember, Sartorius didn't need to convert anyone else to Society of Light because Chazz could do all of it. If anyone else had been converted first, they wouldn't have achieved what Chazz did. He was the linchpin for both the rise and fall of the cult. He recruited everyone and painted Obelisk blue-white. He also faced the consequences and corrected his mistakes by freeing everyone from the cult. And with his wish as the tournament winner, after defeating the 9-year-old Blair, he restored Obelisk Blue to its original color. He also realized that clothes are just clothes. Unlike at the beginning of the season, when he wanted to return to Obelisk Blue, he now sees them as mere uniforms and no longer wants to be part of Obelisk Blue. Fun fact! Everyone knows that Slifer the Sky Dragon is originally called Osiris, but a 4Kids employee humorously gave the dragon his name. The same happened in GX with Sartorius, whose real name is Takuma Sayo, but 4Kids employee David Sartorius named him after himself as well. In Season 3, Chazz didn't have much to do. At first, he made false assumptions about Adrian Gecko, thinking he was a spoiled kid just like Chazz was in Season 1. Chazz wanted to show him in a duel that you can work hard even if your family is wealthy. But he didn't know that Gecko was an adopted son who had gone through much worse hardships than Chazz had. And those who endure greater hardships either became stronger or break under the pressure. Gecko didn't break, so he became stronger than Chazz and won the duel. The duel knocked Chazz out for a while, and he only woke up when things got really bad, as the world started merging with the world of Duel monsters. All the students were trapped in Duel Academy, so the food had to be rationed. Of course, took Chazz charge of the security to stop the zombies. However, the zombies kept rising, and Chazz lost more strength until he became a zombie himself. Once again manipulated, he went after Jaden, falling back into his old patterns and getting defeated by Jaden again. When he returned to normal, the crisis was already over, but Chazz didn't hesitate to go with the others to the Duel Monsters world to help Jaden rescue Jessie. Unfortunately, he couldn't do much there, except get taken hostage. Still, it was Chazz who managed to contact Cyrus, letting Jaden know that they were still alive. They were in an unknown place, enduring hellish torment, but they were still alive in another dimension. I thought Chazz's character development was completed in Season 2 and was just a supporting role from now on. Throughout the entire Season 3, he didn't grow at all. He was either unconscious, captured or possessed. He didn't even win a single notable duel. I also thought that they simply dropped him, making him the Yamcha of the Yu-Gi-Oh world. But then came Season 4, which sadly was never translated. In the final season, Chazz wants to make the leap to becoming a pro duelist and must swallow his pride as a Princeton, because he wants to do it without his brothers' support. Sure, he could call them and they would surely find him a top manager. But Chazz has learned that the fruits of your own labor taste best. So he becomes Esther's assistant, who is now more like a colleague, who he gets into trouble by losing a suitcase. This could have cost Esther everything, so Chazz tries to make up for it with an embarrassing duel against Jaden. A duel against Jaden that he could finally win. But he doesn't, because those were the instructions. He messed things up for Esther. Yes, he could have finally beaten Jaden, but he didn't. He swallowed his pride once more and faced the consequences in that silly Ojama costume, deliberately losing to Jaden. Jaden noticed and was disappointed because he didn't understand why Chazz did that. But now, the manager wants to get rid of Esther completely and wants to make Chazz the star. He could win a rigged duel against Esther and become a pro by winning the duel, but Jaden exposes the cheat, allowing them to finish the duel fairly. So Chazz can prove on his own that he's worthy of being a pro. He even finishes with his yellow Ojama, the weakest card in his deck, which turned out to be his strongest. This seemingly useless card, like Chazz, saved him from drowning and changed his life for the better. Sometimes it's the unremarkable things, the ones you hardly notice, that make all the difference. But his development is still not complete, as he has to face his greatest fear again after losing a duel to Truman. The fear of failing as a pro, which surely reminds him of when he lost to Jaden and Bastion in his first year. He experiences defeat over and over. Overwhelmed with doubt and backed into a corner, he even tries to cheat, which causes him to sink further into darkness until he accepts death and stops fighting against it. But just as he and the others try to help Jaden in Season 3, he pays it back and opens their eyes. They all break through the darkness, allowing Jaden to finish the duel. Chazz was able to banish doubt from his heart because, even if he should lose, life goes on and new opportunities will arise. There's no point in giving in to doubt instead of believing in yourself. Doubts and worries are nothing but faith, but in the negative. Everyone can believe in the good or the bad, but it's just that the darkness can take over if you give into it. If we think about yellow cars, we see them everywhere. The same goes for doubt and hope. If you think your life will be bad and, like Chazz, you draw the wrong card, then it will likely be the wrong card. But you can just easily focus on the good and see the card as a positive, like Chazz does. Who knows, maybe you will end up at a place like North Academy and become even better. At least that way, you keep your eyes open for possibilities that are always available to you. Doubt helps no one. Believe in yourself even when things look like shit. That is the message of the final step. The last step in growing up in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Just as Jaden's story took him from being a youth to becoming an adult, Chazz's story also becomes full circle. Not everyone can be the main protagonist. But everyone grows up and has their own problems, which, if faced honorably, will eventually bear fruits. And if you want to know Jaden's story, feel free to click here. Otherwise, a like and a sub would be great to let me know you want more content like this. But that's it for now. I'll see you next time, so take care, my friends.